Welcome to my CBSE English teacher. Today let's look at the line by line explanation of the chapter The Last Lesson from Class 12 English. If you're watching my video for the first time, please subscribe. You can listen to the explanations of lessons from classes 10, 11 and 12 English. And don't forget to press the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a video. Let's move on to the video now. The last lesson is written by Alphonse Daudet. About the author. Alphonse Daudet was a French novelist and a short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consisted of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. Read the story to find out what effect this had on life at school. Now let's look at the theme of the story. The theme is the pain that is inflicted on the people of a territory by its conquerors by taking away the right to study or speak their own language. And the sub-theme is the student and teacher attitudes to learning and teaching. Before moving on to the lesson, let's look at the meanings of these expressions. In great dread of, fearful in anticipation of something, that means frightened of something. Counted on means to rely or trust on somebody or something. Thumped at the edges means worn or soiled edges caused by frequent handling. Usually you can see this at the corner of the books and textbooks because we keep on turning the pages and the effect it has on the edges of the pages. In unison, something happening or being done at the same time. That means together. A great bustle, an excited activity or a rapid active commotion. Usually it is accompanied by a lot of noise and confusion, etc. Reproach ourselves with, to express disapproval, criticism or disappointment. That means to have a feeling of regret or sorry, etc. So let's move on to the lesson now. So as we know that the French districts of Lorraine and Alsace have passed on into the Prussian hands. So what is the effect that was caused because of this? So let's look at that. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of a scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. So the speaker or the narrator is saying that he had already started very late for the school and he was in great dread of scolding and he was afraid that he would really get scolding because his teacher M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles. Participles here means some French grammar. And I did not know the first word about them. He said that he was so frightened because he did not know anything about it. He was not ready for it. So he was afraid to go to school, fearing that he would get scoldings from his teacher. For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day outdoors. So for one moment, what did he think? Let me try and go away, get away from school. Let me not go to school and let me spend my time somewhere outside. So the narrator is a little boy named Franz. So he is saying that he was afraid to go to school because he had not learned the participles. So he somehow wanted to escape school. It was so warm, so bright. So the outside was so tempting. It was looking so warm and bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling. So he saw that there were birds chirping around in the forest, and in the open field behind the sawmill, he saw the Prussian soldiers drilling, means doing their regular practice. So since the Prussians had taken over, he could see the Prussian soldiers were drilling, undergoing some practice there. So he wanted to stop there and have some fun looking at all these beautiful sights. It was much more tempting than the rule for participles. So he said that these beautiful sights of the birds chirping and the soldiers practicing, it was more interesting and tempting than the participles. But I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. But he resisted his temptation to go and watch these things, and then he went off to school. He hurried off to school. That means he started walking fast to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. So, on his way to the school, there is a town hall, and there is always a bulletin board there from where they can get to read all the news. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. So he is saying that bulletin board that is there in front of the town hall was a place from where they used to get all the bad news, especially for the last 2 years. All the bad news had come from there. And what are the bad news about? It could be about the lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer, etc. And I thought to myself without stopping. So he thought that what could be this time? Why are the people standing in front of the bulletin board? What can be the matter now? And then he thought to himself, what is the news this time? What is that people are standing in front of the bulletin board? Then, as I hurried by as fast as I could, the blacksmith, Wachter, who was there with his apprentice reading the bulletin, called after me, "Don't go so fast, Bub. You'll get to school in plenty of time." So, as he was thinking and as he was hurrying past the bulletin board, the blacksmith, he was standing there with his apprentice, means the person who was training with him or working with him, was standing there and reading the news. And he immediately saw this boy and called him. And what did he say? "Don't go so fast, Bub." Bub means maybe little boy. And he said, "You'll get to school in plenty of time." So you have enough time to go to school. So there is no need to hurry. So this is what the blacksmith told little Franz. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. So he thought that the blacksmith was actually making fun of him because he was late and he was hurrying to school. But then he hurried to school and finally he reached the school garden, which was owned by M. Hamel, his teacher, or which was looked after by this teacher. What is the meaning of all out of breath? He was actually panting because he was rushing to school and he wanted to get there soon. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street, the opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. So, what is Franz saying? Usually, when he reaches school, he could actually hear a great bustle. That means there used to be a lot of noise, and that could be heard in the streets outside. And what made these noise? The opening and closing of desk by the children, lessons repeated loudly together, and the children had to actually keep their hands over the ears to understand what is happening better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. So all these were the different kinds of noises that people could hear usually when the classes were going on. But now it was all so still. But Franz says that now it was all so still means it was all very quiet. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. Actually, he had planned that when there is a lot of noise, because he is already late, he thought that he could quietly get inside his class amidst this noise. But then it was all so quiet. But of course, that day everything had to be quiet as a Sunday morning. But for him, as he reached the school, he saw that it was as quiet as a Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places. So when he looked inside the classroom, he was surprised because he saw that all his classmates were already in their places. And M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. And he also saw that his teacher was also there, and he had his iron ruler under his arm, and he was just walking up and down the class. So he could not use the commotion to go inside because there was no commotion at all. Everything was quiet, all were seated in their places, and the teacher was walking up and down. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. So he had to take the door itself and go inside the class when everybody was watching him. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So you can imagine he says that how I blushed. Why did he blush? He was feeling ashamed because he was already late and he was also frightened. He thought that his teacher would scold him, but nothing happened. But actually, nothing happened. He did not receive any scolding at all. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz." So his teacher noticed him and he told him very kindly, "Go to your place, go and sit in your place." So he was amazed because he was expecting a scolding, but then his teacher was speaking very kindly to him. "We were beginning without you." So his teacher said that, "See, we were about to start the lesson without you, but thank God that you have come on time." I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. So feeling, quite satisfied, he took his place. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frill shirt, and the little black silk cap all embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So what happened when he took his seat and when all his fear had disappeared? So what did he see? He noticed something different about his teacher. What did he notice? He was dressed in a very different manner. And what was his dress? He wore a beautiful green coat and he wore a frill shirt and he also was wearing a black silk cap all embroidered. And this dress, he said, he never wore except on inspection and prize days. That means he wore the special dress only on special days. So he was wondering what was special about this day. I hope you liked today's video. Let's look at the second part of this lesson in my next video. For more informative videos, do subscribe to my CBSE English teacher. Like, share and give your valuable comments below. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.